Okay, so if you're not already aware, Joe Biden did a live stream yesterday. Sorry, I'm getting this out late to you guys. I know that's not my style. That's just how it ended up happening. But Joe Biden was in hiding since Tuesday prior to yesterday. So basically, nearly a full week of essentially hiding from the public. No public appearances. We never saw the guy. People are wondering, did he pass? Does he have the Rona? Everyone's like, what the heck is going on? Because he has not showed up in public for so gosh darn long. And it's obviously because the guy has dementia. Every time he speaks, he just completely flubs. So he just has this degeneration of his brain cells. And also, he's had aneurysms before, dude, to the point where during a surgery, the neurosurgeon told him, bro, you got 30 to 50% chance of making it back to normal. So this is a guy with like already having brain problems, obviously, and then also you tack onto it the severe old age that he's at, and it's like, hold on a second, this could really be a problem, right? So he did this live stream, and it was an unmitigated disaster. So I've compiled some clips to look at just so we can analyze this and take a look at it. So here is the first clip that we're going to take a look at.
Beef up the number of responders dealing with these crusher cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of it. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
Let me show you that one more time.
Beef up the number of responders dealing with these crusher cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing.
So a couple of things there. He says a crush of cases. Now, I don't know if that's a real term or not. I did Google it. Apparently, there is a definition that could apply to this situation for crush. So I guess I'm going to have to give him a pass on that, because originally I thought he was talking nonsense and was just trying to like come up with a word to fill in and just said crush because that was what he came up with. But no, I guess that's actually not the case. I guess it fits maybe. I don't know. Maybe being too lenient here. I have no idea. But definitely sounds weird to say a crush of cases. But yeah, Biden says a lot of 1960s words. But the most crucial piece here is what you see is his teleprompter malfunction. So first of all, it's very telling that he's working off of a teleprompter here. Bernie Sanders does like these lives with Faiz Shakir, all right, and he's not reading off no effing teleprompter. He's just going off the cuff. So it's very telling that Joe Biden has to speak from a teleprompter, because it means that he's afraid and his team is afraid that basically what's going to happen is he's going to flub. He's going to mess up. So he has to stick to a script, kind of like Trump. When Trump doesn't stick to a script, he goes insane, right? So as you can see here, you see that little hand movement at the bottom left where he's like, I think he's trying to be like, yo, like either move something to do with the teleprompter, like move it down, like keep going, it's frozen, move to the next page. Something like that is what he's trying to do. He's trying to, do that little hand motion there. But the teleprompter clearly crashed right there is what you see. And then he just completely loses it. And so another thing is, he's unable to really bounce back with smoothly anyway without a teleprompter. And as you can see, when he kind of starts speaking here, it's kind of just like
we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of it.
Yeah, so as you can see there, and it's weird because he kind of says the same thing. I don't know, because he's trying to talk about here how we need more first responders, which is true, and the fact that Donald Trump has not used the powers that are granted from the Defense Production Act is actually insane, because we're in shortages of ventilators and we're going to be in even more shortages. I saw on the news there's an Oakland airport that nurses are on strike saying we don't have protective equipment. So you need to put that into pile drive, have those factories make ventilators and masks. It should be basic common sense. And so he's right about that. But what I don't understand is he's talking about that, and then he says, I've talked enough about that, let's switch the subject. And then he brings up the Defense Production Act, but it's like, wait a second, aren't those the same thing? I'm confused. Aren't those two things intertwined? I don't know. But as you can see here, Joe Biden just completely melting down there. That's probably the biggest clip. Here's another one, though. This one's pretty crazy. Again, his dementia on full show for everybody to see.
Governor Mike DeWine in Ohio, Governor Larry Hogan in Maryland, Governor Charlie Parker in Massachusetts.
So, this is a key piece of dementia and Alzheimer's to me, is when you start to forget stuff like that, when you start to forget names or just forget certain things, to me, that's the clearest sign of Alzheimer's. You start to replace it with stuff. So, what he says there is the governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Parker. Now, I didn't know who Charlie Parker is. I had to Google him. He was a jazz musician back in the 1900s. So he replaced, this is a theme we've seen with Joe Biden, he replaces names of current figures with people from way back in the day during his time. That's such a, I've never seen a clearer sign of dementia, Alzheimer's in my life. So what are some examples of that? So he did this not once, but twice. He actually couldn't remember the name Theresa May, the former prime minister of the UK. And so guess what he said? He said Margaret Thatcher. Thatcher was like 70s, 80s or whatever, prime minister of the UK. So to me, that's a huge, huge indication that Joe Biden is sort of unable to remember anything because he's replacing current figures with old people. Now, the governor of Massachusetts is not Charlie Parker. That's a black jazz musician back in the 1900s. Charlie Baker is the name of the current Massachusetts governor. So that's not something to just slide under the rug like, oh, it happens. No, the thing is, maybe if it was under the circumstances of, oh, we've never seen that before, it just happened randomly, I'm like, oh, okay, fine, that happens, because that kind of thing does happen to everybody, right? Usually you correct yourself immediately, and actually when you don't correct yourself immediately, it's actually even more cause for concern. But, when you have somebody with a clear history of doing that kind of a thing, right, saying Margaret Thatcher in place of Theresa May, you've got a real big problem on your hands, all right? You got a real big problem on your hands. So it's Charlie Baker, not Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker was a jazz musician. Here's a little interesting little piece. So there's just the intro portion of this. And also, another thing we got to take a look at is what you'll see here.
Ready to go? Good morning. I hope you and your family.
So that's there's just like 15 seconds of just like dead air from Joe Biden as you see. He's like, "We ready?" He just looks so lost too. It's hilarious. It's like the face he makes like right here is like, it's just so weird. I've just never seen a weirder face of just like lostness ever. But he's not. And again, like, it's hard to practice good hygiene practices with the whole Rona stuff. Like, I'm sure I touch my face during the videos and whatnot. But bro, if you're like 70 trillion years old like he is, it's probably and you have underlying conditions, probably a good idea to practice better hygiene, especially when you have you're running for president and you're like currently the front runner of the Democratic Party. Probably a good idea to do, right? Because a lot of people are watching you, and we actually have another video on that dropping soon. But just more dead air awkwardness during these live streams that they don't seem to have covered well. Here's another one. So here's a little clip where Joe Biden is speaking.
Let me be clear. Donald Trump is not to blame for the coronavirus, but he does bear responsibility for our response. And I, along with every American, hope he steps up and starts to get this right. No, this isn't about politics. This is simply too much at stake, too many lives, too many livelihoods, too many homes and families and businesses and communities at risk.
So what you see here, a couple of things, right? First of all, very odd question to respond to, very odd response to make. Who says that Donald Trump is responsible for Rona? As if he what are there people who think that he created Rona in a lab or something like that? No, dude. Again, just weird stuff. But then you hear that weird cough there that you hear where he has to clear his throat.
I hope he steps up and starts to get this right.
Let's see if we can hear it.
No, this isn't about politics.
Yeah, as you can hear right there, you hear that.
This is simply
not a good sign. We've seen some signs of those before. So Joe Biden may be fending off the Rona as we speak. Maybe that's why he went in hiding, dude. Like you never know, honestly, bro. There's could be a lot of reasons why he went into hiding. He went into hiding for almost 7 days. You know what I'm saying? So, definitely a big deal. No doubt about it. Definitely a big deal. But also another thing I wanted to say is he sounds eerily similar. Do you guys remember that video of Trump at the UN where it was like clear he was either on downers or he was on the come down from uppers? That's what Biden sounds like to me here. He just sounds so like he sounds like
Let me be
just listen to
clear.
him. He's so
Donald
like
Trump is not to blame for the coronavirus.
he's just so like sounds down, boring, and it's just like it's so weird to me. So he kind of sounds like that. So he sounds the way that he sounds here reminds me of how Trump sounded at that UN speech that he gave, where he just was like kind of hella depressed and down, and it was like, all right, it's pretty clear what's going on here. And yeah, Joe might have been on something during the debate. I think that would make a lot of sense, honestly. Um, but yeah, so I think that's a pretty good summary of the Joe Biden press conference. Tried to cover every insane clip that I saw. But what's clear is Joe Biden is not mentally fit to be president of the United States. Joe Biden is an enabler, and it is very, very sad to see that this guy is currently the front runner of the Democratic Party. It really, truly is sad to see that. It honestly is.